facing. And I think it's just maybe something worth exploring and maybe incorporating that concept into the materials. And I can dig up some of those articles if anyone's interested. But I just wanted to note that.
Yeah, no, that's important. And Shalak has her hand up now because I think.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm on that working group and I made the mistake of conflating that with the implicit bias, so I'm sorry. But I'm on that working group, Jezreel, and I brought that up when we first started working on it, that like I felt the bar had to walk the line between providing resources for people dealing with their individual feelings versus saying, if you just fix this about yourself, everything else would be fine, because I can feel as confident as I want. If someone's not going to let me drink from a water fountain, like me feeling confident about myself has nothing to do with it, right? Like that is a structural issue that's not about how I feel. Right. And so I think in the first iteration of the imposter syndrome resources that were put up, that was taken into consideration, but I apologize for like conflating those in your hard work on the implicit bias modules, Helen, before.
No worries.
Straight to jail.
Cool. Straight. Okay. Don't see anybody else's hands. So the next thing on our agenda is my favorite. It's the discussion of additional DEI initiatives. As if we haven't talked about enough new stuff that all of your wisdom and brilliance have come up with in the last several hours. Here's a chance to talk about any additional things that you think we ought to be working on in our work plan. And I think the work plan was attached to the agenda. If you don't have one, it was attached to our agenda. But does anybody else have burning issues that they want to talk about, or DEI things that we aren't already doing that they think we ought to try and fit in?
Well, I'll just build off of what Jezreel just raised, and like we were just discussing, that I think it would be good to revisit looking at our imposter syndrome resources and what might need to be updated there. I think that following that SFFA decision, we're gonna see more. I mean, I will say as a plug, like just last evening after the diversity summit, I was speaking to a group of potential law students, and they asked me to speak about imposter syndrome for underrepresented groups in law school and how to prepare for that before they even got to law school. And I said, you should go to the State Bar of California. and that's why I was like, oh wait, did I tell them to go to something that they can't access?
No.
Yeah.
No, they can't.
So I do think, like, but thinking about updating that, perhaps building in more nuance, because I know the first iteration was seeking to be rather broad, would be useful and helpful in incorporating what Jezreel just brought up. I also have been thinking about the ways that we can do more to provide public understanding, or public, maybe attorney understanding, around the various intersections of types of diversity, right? So like the generational plus gender plus race, maybe some of that conversation that came out yesterday about the differences between people who identify as women who are Gen Z versus Gen X versus baby boomers, all of whom may be in the workplace and
Right.
have different responses to maybe experiencing the same sexism, right? Or I'm not in this group, but I've heard from students their feelings around attorneys whom they know are from other older generations who are LGBTQ plus, and they are LGBTQ plus, and them going like, why wouldn't they just blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, well, because 10 years ago,
So-
and so I think that there could be something
I think there's
to
actually something to
providing
that,
some
yeah.
real support, training, resources around not just generational differences, but the intersections of the ways those drill down. And maybe that's part of the relationship with the affinity bars and helping them to think about addressing that and as they work through like young bar, older bar, whatever stuff. But that's something that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, that reminds me, I was just on a webinar the other day. I don't know, Michael or Stephanie, if you saw it, but the LA Superior Court and the LGBTQ judges in California did this program, and one of the speakers was Judge Vaughn Walker, who was the federal district court judge who heard the Prop 8 case here in California. And at the time that he heard the case, it was a decently well-kept secret that he was a gay man. And when that came out later, it became a big issue. And it was very interesting to hear him talk about why he didn't come out, like why people didn't know. And I was sitting there as an openly LGBTQ judge, listening to someone who was 20, 30 years above, before me on the bench, and he had a very different experience, right? And I remember thinking when I heard he was gay, because I didn't know that, like, well, why wasn't he out? And that there is a real generational difference when it comes to those kinds of things. And I'm sure that transcends for race and ethnicity and all these other things of what it looks like to a law student now, to, someone in my generation, to a baby boomer,
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of things, even within your own group. So I think that is worth, talking about.
I also think about perhaps the ability, I may be really over searching the state bar's reach here, but the ability to help people think about, like, we think quite a bit, especially in the nonprofit world, about trauma-informed lawyering. I wonder if there's something about like empathy-informed, lawyering and work and practice.
You should
trademark
trademark
that
now,
immediately.
right now.
Okay.
Write that down.
I did publish it. It was made public under my voice.
Yeah, it's right here.
But, like something about that and what the state bar might do. And I'm thinking about it, especially, in some of the civility conversations, right? What in civility could come down to if we actually saw the other person as human and had understanding for them as a human being? Would we need to have all of these rules about how we treat other people with decency and respect if we just saw other people as beings worthy of decency and respect, even if we didn't agree with them, right? And so I wonder if there's something that the state, it might not feel like an intuitively COAF type thing, but it is if it's like, Black people weren't seen as human beings worthy of decency and respect, and LGBTQ plus people and all of the things. And so that's something that comes to mind as an outgrowth that stuck with me when Kristen was speaking yesterday, that much of it comes down to being able to think and give empathy in both ways.
Yeah. Oh, that's a fantastic idea. Yes, Tristan.
Okay, so first, tagging on to what the dean just said, do we have any resources, I should know this, on civil discourse? What's happening?
No, you're
The
good.
state bar has resources related to civility.
Mhm.
We have state bar rules related to civility.
Right?
That's all I can tell you right now because that's in the purview of our Office of Professional Competence.
Mm.
Kathy Ungary from that office has come to talk about those things before. And
Excellent.
if there's, I just wrote down
I was like, can we ask Kathy to-
civility and empathy, ask Kathy in my notes.
No, perfect.
So there, we can, invite her to a future meeting.
I was
for
just
sure,
thinking that,
to discuss more, if
Yeah.
there's something.
well, and maybe to create a training. I know it was really important to our previous Chief Justice, right?
Yes.
Civics and civility. And that is something that we could probably lead the way, whether it's through the Office of Professional Responsibility or not. The next thing is, I would like to see us do something to your other point, Shalak, the idea that my kid who's 20, Gen Z, defines as a term as basic for most of us as bisexuality, totally different than Gen Xers do. So I do think there's something to that, right? So like if you're on a dating site and it'd be like, no, it's very complicated.
No, I know.
And the definition is different. So I think that there's a lot to that. I love that. But what I wanted to mention is that, kind of along those lines, being LG B is less controversial than being T.
Right.
And I think it would be cool if we did something that was focused on our non-binary, especially because of we have a whole status in California, status X, right? On our non-binary and trans folks, whether it's an educational component that firms could adopt, because that's the most common thing I get asked, right? How do we handle our trans employees? What do we have to do? Et cetera, et cetera. Like how, when they transition, when, what bathroom, like there's a whole lot of leading I think we could do in this space. And it's still something that people are afraid to talk about.
Yep.
So I think and I would love just right off the bat to work on something like that. So I'm not just throwing out an idea, like you guys go work on it. But I think it would be really, really cool if that was something we worked on.
Is there anyone trans in the video series that Ryan and Heather had started? You know, the one where it was like profiling different
There is,
attorneys?
they're not in the video series, but in the brochure.
Oh, okay.
In the brochure we did, the brochure that the Sal and I did, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, that we're about to update, there is.
Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe update. We're working on it.
Oh, I thought we were gonna update. Maybe we'll update. Yeah, there is, but nobody in the video series.
Okay.
But the video series is only 2 videos.
Yeah, no,
But
no,
we
I
had a
was
list,
just
didn't we have a list of people that we were like aspirational? I mean, if we're gonna do one with a trans lawyer or even a trans judge, I mean, this is the state to do it in because
Yeah.
There are,
So it's not illegal here.
it's not, right, it's not illegal here yet.
Sorry, I'm being so sarcastic.
No, but it's true.
And then the last comment I had was on the CLA phone call that I participated in many times. What's the next step on that? Like, is that something we will investigate taking over, or?
That is something that the state bar as a whole, I think, is considering. I don't know what COAF's involvement would be.
Okay,
That's something I can check in with Leah about.
awesome. Thank you. That's it.
Cool. Novella.
Yes. This is relating back to the comment about empathy. So I think I generally from like a just gut reaction agree, but then I also recently heard someone mention this book called Against Empathy by Paul Bloom, and it's like a research-based argument and analysis about like how empathy can actually lead you astray and result in more biased based conduct. And so I think one of the premises of the book is like pulling out and like articulating the distinction between empathy and compassion and like trying to form a more precise like direction than the like more empathy is always good.
Oh, interesting.
Worthy of research, I think.
Yeah. Thanks, Novella, for sharing that. I wish you'd been here yesterday. You could have, when empathy came up, that would have been, because I wonder what Dr. Donnelly would say about that. So thank you for that. That's super helpful. Jezreel.
This is going back to the like generational differences and kind of discussion on different definitions. What comes to mind is like different responses within different generations. Like I think one of the admirable things about younger generations is they're often more likely to speak out or to report things. And so what I just a thought that's very unbloomed in my head, but I'm just thinking about if we could think about resources or some kind of project about excuse me, just examples of like how to respond or how to react, like some kind of training, or I just think like sometimes in the moment you don't know what to say, right? Or you don't know how to address things. So just like maybe examples of like how to address issues. I don't know if I'm explaining my thought correctly because it's very undeveloped, but I'm just thinking about how maybe guidance. How do we provide guidance on like if issues do come up, like how can you respond to them? Like what resources are out there, or what's the procedure, right? How do you navigate within your organization, or even just in the moment, like what are examples of like things you can say to respond when something makes you feel uncomfortable? Because I think just hearing an example or seeing an example of like how someone addresses something could be really helpful in, you know, addressing or combating these issues.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like, I don't know, I'm just imagining like a video maybe in one of these modules or something like that. Again, I haven't had the benefit of watching any of them yet, so maybe that's already worked in there, but I just am just thinking about kind of like this reactionary piece.
Yeah.
I like to tell my training attendees the most important things for them to remember from any session I give is when someone discloses something to you, regardless of what it is. The first question is, thank you for telling me that. I appreciate you trusting me, and then or comment. And then the only question is, can you tell me more about that? What it means to you? Because it's so different to so many people. And I love the idea of having some responses like that. What to do when your new associate says no to working after 5?
Well, I mean, right. Yeah, or anything, right? I mean, you know, we share good news and bad news with, you know, friends and colleagues and, you know, and we're not necessarily trained on how to, you know, on how to respond when someone gives you the bad news, for example. And I think, I think to Jezreel's point, like, maybe there is something we can do around that, especially in the DEI space.
And even on the civility piece that you brought up, Tristan, like, I think just having difficult conversations, like we just don't, even though we're attorneys and we have them all the time, right? Like, I think maybe some training on in that area, like the language to use or the questions to ask, or, you know, how to deal with those situations.
Somebody said that yesterday, that about how, was it you that said it, or maybe Dr. Donnelly said it? About how people would rather avoid having hard conversations. Was it? Yeah, Dr. Donnelly said, like, people will, you know, supervisors will avoid having hard conversations or sharing feedback or that isn't positive. It's difficult, there's, you know, because it's hard. Yep.
May I ask, please forgive my ignorance, does the state bar, I promise there's a reason for this question, does the state bar oversee licensure, whatever it is, of arbitrators, mediators, like dispute resolution folk?
Nobody
Mikey's
does.
saying no.
No.
Nobody does.
Oh, okay. And the reason why I asked that question was I thought that might be a group that might lend some particular conversation to the idea of videos or something around like navigating confrontation, difficult conversations, all of that. Like I know our institute for it has several classes around like cross-cultural difference and confrontation, and that might be a piece, which would be easier if the state bar was kind of over or engaged with the
Just
engagement with
attorneys.
and regulation of
So
that.
lesser attorneys.
Just attorneys in a certain segment of law schools.
Right, so unless they are attorneys,
Right.
but that's not necessarily their practice, because it's not like a specialty that gets regulated, but you know, like how this.
Right,
There
there's
is
like not a family law, like a family law specialist.
Yeah,
right?
where then there's like certain things they have to meet as attorneys to
Right.
say they specialize
Yeah, I
in
don't
it.
believe there's.
There is not.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
It's
there
a
totally
different
should be.
course.
There's not, and really, I mean, you can take a 40-hour course.
Is it 40?
Yeah,
40 hours.
But I mean, it's a 40-hour course and you can get
yeah,
certified, but
okay. I was thinking of, and if it was, right, then we have a population that might be uniquely trained to provide the videos and so on that Jezreel was bringing up.
you might
That's
have
what I thought.
access to,
I do.
yeah, to the people on that, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, if
to
it
the-
was something that I do, Judge Rhodes.
Yeah. Judge Michael,
Senator Umbert just proposed a bill that would bring ADR services at least somewhat under the ambit of the state bar.
oh,
Proposed, not any further than that at this point. But I wonder whether there might be some services there, Shalak, or some groups that are identified in the bill or in the legislative history about the bill that's probably to come that might help with that discussion.
do you know anything about that? Bill, Michael, was it I mean, I don't know if you've read anything about it. Do you know if it comes out of this, that over sort of unregulated ADR, or if it comes out of this idea that many, many ADR professionals these days are retired judges? I mean, I wonder if it's
I am
coming.
not adequately prepared to give you any commentary on it. It's SB 940. That's about as far as I
All
can
right,
go.
I'm gonna look that up. Thank you.
Well, should that be something that the bar became interested in from a COAF
Yeah.
perspective? I certainly do know people that I'd be happy to serve on the working group and put us
We
in
would
touch
not
with.
create a working group until we have a new work plan with that inclusive.
Correct.
So that would be at the very
2025.
earliest next year,
Okay.
just being real.
If it were an initiative that the bar,
Yes.
there was
Later
interest
down the
in
line.
learning about to whether or not it should go on the work plan, I'd be happy to provide.
Yeah, and and not to be the downer here, but all of our discussion here, awesome, great, and I appreciate it. But we do have a work plan for 2024.
We do.
And so I want to set expectations that we won't be adding to the work plan until next year.
I'm just fielding discussion for next year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, all for that. Does anybody else have anything to add? New ideas? All right, not seeing any, great. I do not believe that we have anyone here from CLA. I can't, actually, I don't know, I should ask Shannon because I don't have,
No, we don't.
okay.
We see everybody on the screen.
Everybody who's here, we can see, okay, and nobody from California Law Pathways, and we already heard from Judge Josich from the Judicial Council. So I think that is our entire agenda for today. I don't need a motion to adjourn, do I? I can just do that on my own.
But Chair, it says California Leadership Access Workforce. Is that the same as Pathways?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's Cal Law Pathways, the group that.
Yep, Cal Law, okay, sorry.
It is. All right, then, seeing nothing else and seeing no one else with questions or their hand up, I will adjourn today's meeting. Oh, and someone just unmuted. Does anybody have anything else to add, or can I adjourn?
Nope, I was just gonna say bye.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Again, amazing to see many of you yesterday. Truly great to be able to hug some of you for the first time. So thank you all again for your time here today and yesterday. And we will see each other again in September, when I think we will all be virtual.
Correct.
And that will be my last official meeting as well, I believe, is Novella's.
Yes.
And maybe Judge Stephanie as well.
Yes.
So think about how much you're gonna miss all of us. In the next couple of months before our last meeting. All right, thank you everyone again. Lovely to see you all. Have a safe weekend. We will see each other again soon.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.